Yo, Joe. In this episode 58 of Heroic Nonsense, we're dialing back to the 80s with a brand new GI Joe classified series dial tone. From retro vibes to modern detail, we're breaking down every inch of this classic calm specialist with a full review and some awesome display ideas for your GI Joe shelf. Let's go. I always really liked this figure and character. Something about him just worked, and he always stood out in the cartoon. Same with Mainframe, who they recently announced and showed the renders for. I believe I got my original dial tone from a friend, so I don't remember having dial tone's comms backpack, but that didn't stop me from using him all over the place in my battles as a kid. And now, we get the modern classified update. The question is he as great as the original from the 80s? Let's find out together in this week's GI Joe Spotlight of Dial Tone. And here he is, the man of the hour, Dial Tone. And I'm happy to say that he's everything you'd expect and want in a GI Joe classified update. Great mold, realistic head sculpt, all his cool accessories, and more. And even though he's technically supposed to be a modern rendition of his original 80s version, I have to say that out of all the classified figures who are part of the main line, he's probably the most faithful to the original. To be honest, other than playing around with some colors a bit, I'm not sure how they'd make a retro-carded version of him that's much different. So for those of you wanting this character in classified and love the nostalgia of the 80s toys, I'd say this one has you covered. Let's patch in and break it all down, every sculpted detail, every accessory, and every reason why this new dial tone might be your next must-have classified figure. I really like when a figure has all of its details worked out consistently across the board and fits with the rest of the line. And Dial Tone is definitely one of those figures. He just all around looks great and evokes those great 80s feelings, especially when placed with the rest of the main GI Joe characters and vehicles from the time. If you pull back far enough, it really does feel like you're looking at the original figure and is one of my favorite Joe figures recently released, along with General Hawk. I also think they did a really fine job on his face, which keeps a realistic feel to it, not like Road Pig, whose cartoony face appears to have been at least in part due to a cost-saving accessory being left out according to the Joe team. And I love when the devs go in with additional details like they've done with Dial Tone's ear and voice headset molded into the sculpt, which just gives it that extra bit of realism which is always appreciated. As with other figures with berets, his beret is removable and actually fits onto his head quite well and seamlessly. So well that I thought it was originally molded on when I first opened the figure. Another one of my favorite things are the emblems and symbols placed on these classified figures. In this case, it's a very cool one for Dial Tone that reflects his communication specialty and expertise. Just highlighting some additional features here like this molded on walkie-talkie and the amazing details throughout the figure, including on the belt and uniform. He comes with a nice amount of accessories, the most important being his comms backpack, which is a great update to his toy version from back in the day. In addition to the standard gear, he does come with this bullhorn looking piece, which is actually a listening in device, which the original didn't come with, and which is very accurate to what the real ones look like. As a welcome update to his original 80s grayish whitish backpack, the new very detailed one is painted in this very nice silver with some more material based gray coloring, with the bonus of this opening up to reveal a keyboard and computer type tech, as well as a comms arm that can be positioned over his mouth. Overall, it's a great mold, and I'm really liking the update, especially with the added features like what looks like to be a molded on roving camera and infrared type detector. And a bit of a closer look to this computer system, which looks so great and is totally fun for play and display. As for his weapon, which takes some of its cues from the original and modernizes it, it also has a spot in which to place a small comms looking phone device, giving Dial Tone a very tailored weapon that makes sense within this character's lore and range of expertise. I must have been tired, but originally I had no idea what this small holster was for, but eventually figured out it was for his phone/GPS unit, which slots right in. Until I figured it out, I assumed it was meant to hold his listening in device, which actually kinda works since there isn't really any place else to store it on the figure or his backpack. Just something to do if you wanted to in either configuration. As for the comms arm on his backpack, it does pivot down, though I feel it needs a bit of work to get it positioned right in front of his mouth. I recommend moving the strap with the grenades a bit off the shoulder to give it some more space. You can also give him this extra futuristic, later years Joe look by placing it over his eye. I know it's not meant to be positioned this way, but it actually looks amazing in my opinion. Overall, an excellent GI Joe classified version of this highly anticipated and loved figure that 100% fits into the mainline Joes while still giving a perfect callback to the original. Let me know if you guys agree in the comment section and if you plan on getting him. We'll have a bit of a shorter comparison section this week since there are no real alternate versions of Dial Tone yet, or troop builders to place him with. However, I did want to showcase him with some of the main characters from the G1 cartoon with whom I felt he works best. And I gotta say, he looks amazing with this group. We still haven't opened up our Retro Duke, which I would have included, but I really love how these guys look together and totally reminds me of those good old GI Joe cartoon days. I also thought it'd be fun to throw in a quick comparison to, I guess, what we consider the corresponding Cobra version, the Tele-Viper. And again, especially using the old Tele-Viper retro face, they 100% bring me back to the 80s and all those great memories. I use the Night Force RAM here because I feel it just works a bit better display-wise. One last fun comparison, having all the Joe Special Forces together that sport berets, and I really like having them together this way, especially the first three. I'm still not sold on Lieutenant Falcon though, even with the updated face. He also seems a bit too stocky, though it is cool to see all their different berets and insignias next to each other. As you know, I always look forward to this part of the review because it can let my creative juices flow, and I also get a chance to play with these toys again. By the way, as I'm putting this spotlight together, my boys are having a huge battle with our collection, which is so great to watch and listen in on. I love using the VAM, so having Dial Tone and Clutch stopping the Jeep for a moment to try and pick up some intel while on their mission is a great little display idea. I do hope they make a classified Night Force version of him one day, but for now, General Hawk has lent Dial Tone out for a special Night Force mission desperately in need of a comm specialist. Let us know if there are any other teams you think Dial Tone would be a perfect match for. Share your ideas with this group in the comment section. A little mix of the base GI Joe team and Night Force, assembling the unit for a joint operation. And as much as I'm not a huge fan of Night Force Lieutenant Falcon, in the right positioning, he does look pretty cool. And he also has that rucksack that fits right into this type of mission requiring comm support. General Hawk shows up for a quick inspection before the teams head out. I always appreciated how General Hawk was an integral part of both base and in-field operations. A few small rocks and a ram, and voila, a cool solo display of Dial Tone checking in. Already out on their mission, we have Dial Tone and Night Force Lieutenant Falcon setting up their mobile comms base of operations right in the field. I really do like the range of display ideas you can recreate using accessories that are themselves detailed and multifunctional. Having this mini computer built into Dial Tone's backpack is perfect for just that. I also enjoy recreating teams on patrol, and there's no better team ground unit than one supported by VAMPs when light artillery support is needed in difficult terrains. Even better when you can get one of my favorite Joe characters, Beachhead, into the mix. I'm definitely looking forward to the upcoming Night Force version. And finally, one of my favorite displays to set up, one involving both the Joes and Cobra. In this case, with Dial Tone using his listening in expertise and equipment to gather some intel before the big attack on a mobile Cobra strike team. Here, he's also supported by Night Force Shockwave using his small drone that he comes with to get some eyes in the air as well. I'm sure there are a ton more ideas I haven't thought of just yet, but as our Joe team continues to grow, I'll make sure to come up with more exciting ideas for action shots. Share yours too, and I can try to incorporate them next time. I don't really focus on the classified front of packs these days for the mainline packages because really, they're pretty boring. This side panel though has a nice piece of art of Dial Tone which looks awesome. Really dig this type of comic art. The back always has some cool visuals, and Dial Tone's is no exception with him in the field. I swear that thing in the back looks like a modern Cobra Rage from far, though I know it isn't. So that's it for this week's episode, hope you enjoyed it. The Cobra Claw looks like it's on its way, so I suspect that will be the next one we'll be reviewing here, especially since it's a vehicle, and I love me some vehicles. Thanks for watching, hope to see you back next time, and remember, it's all such heroic nonsense in the end.
Bravo!